Today's discussion is on JavaScript web APIs. I'm really excited about this because I know after this video you will have a full understanding of how to use local storage, what local storage is, what is session storage, and the difference between local storage and session storage. Let's get to it. Web Storage API is used by developers to store some data into the web browser. These data are key value pairs of strings. You can see it as a very big object which can contain strings. The two methods for storing this data are session storage and you got it right, local storage. When data is stored in session storage, the data is only stored for one session. The session is lost when the browser tab is closed. The session is more useful than cookies. Cookies are being sent to the server while making the network request calls, but session storage is not. The second reason why session storage is better than cookies is that it has a larger memory. Now let's talk about local storage. Local storage has the highest memory capacity between session storage and cookies. A lot of big companies use local storage to store some data, especially data that is not needed in the server side. They store it in the local storage. The next part now we're going to go into the browser, find where the local storage is in our browser. We're going to also use some code to put data into our local storage, retrieve data from our local storage, clear data from our local storage, delete individual data from our local storage, and also retrieve data from our local storage. So yeah, let's get to that part. When we go to the application here and we click on local storage, we click on here, we can see a key and a value. So this is what we want to set inside the local storage. And how do we set keys and values and store them in the local storage? Well, we do that by going to our console. And before we start that, let's just know that the first thing you should know is that local storage is stored on the window object of your browser. Window object is the global object. Window.localStorage can only be accessed because the local storage is inside the window of the browser. Now, there are two ways of doing this. We could do it like this, window.localStorage, or we can also just do it as local storage since we're in the browser. The setItem method of the storage interface, which is here our local storage, when we pass a key name and a value, it will add the key to the given storage object, or it will update it as I will show right now. So now here we put key of 1 and this value of coding along. I have to put that in strings because there are strings here. Coding along. Now we see undefined, but when we go back to our application, we can see one coding along. And what you need to understand is that if I change this to coding along 1, like this, what will happen is that coding along 1 gets updated to this. But if I change the key value pair and make this, if I change the key and make this 2, then a new key and value pair is stored. So this is what I mean. Either it updates the existing value when we change the value, it updates the existing key, or we change the key and it creates a new key and value pair. So now the way for us to get the value in our local storage is we say local storage and we use the function get item, and here the argument we place in is the key. So in this case, our key, as we can see here, we have 1 and 2. So if you put 1, you can see it shows us coding along. If we put 2, it shows us the same because the value were the same that we set. The other function is when we want to remove we want to remove the item in the local storage, we say localStorage.remove item, and we put again the key as its argument. So here we put 2, and we can see here the 2 has been removed. And do the same for 1, and 1 gets removed. So this is how now we've learned how to store value key and values into our local storage. We've found a way to retrieve the values using the keys, and now we also found a way to remove the values using the key. So now I want us to set again. We set 2, modify 2, so it shows key 1 coding along 1, key 2 coding along 2, and key 3 coding along 3. Now we can also use localStorage.clear to clear everything inside the local storage, as we can see right here. So these are the functions that we use with local storage to put items in, to bring them out, to get them, to set them, to remove them, and to clear it. And remove actually removes specific ones, but clear removes everything inside the local storage. Now let's actually see what happens when we try to store an object into our local storage. So now what happens when we want to actually store an object inside our local storage? Let's check it out. Say constant channel equals to and we can say channel name coding along. So now we say local storage dot set item. We say channel. Now we set the key now to channel, and write channel here, which is the name of our object. We can see here we get channel and we get object. So what is that? If we try to convert channel here, you see we get the same thing. So that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to convert it to a string. So now how do we get past that? Because we don't want it to show object. We want it to actually show coding along, which is the name of the object, which is the name in the object. So the way we set it is we say set item, and now I'm just giving it a new value pair, so we actually see this one and we see the way we actually get it to actually print the way we want it to print it. I'm using the new key so we can see the difference, and we use JSON.stringify and write channel. So right now we can see it here. It actually shows us the way we wanted it to be, our object, which is channel 1 equals name ... coding along. So when we put it like this, localStorage.get item channel 1, you see here we get name coding, but you can see it that this is actually a string. So how do we get around that to actually for it to return an object and not a string? Because we stored an object inside it. So how do we get that is now we use another function. We use JSON dot parse. So we parse it. And when we parse it, we will get the object itself. So these are the things you need to know about local storage, and the things that a lot of students I notice are confused and they don't really understand this whole way of actually using it with the objects. Some people don't even believe you can use it with objects, but you can. You can store objects inside your local storage, and you can store strings as well. So I hope you understood this. If you didn't, rewind it. Repetition really helps with stuff like this. Rewind it and watch the video again, and for sure you will get it. And leave a comment below if you have any additional questions or you have other ways you can use local storage. Hopefully you understood everything we just did right here. Yeah, and please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. I release videos weekly, and yeah, see you in the next video.